Hey guys, it's Brother John here with you. So good to be with you on this video podcast. Great things are happening in the worship ministry as we start to open back up from COVID. Just little by little, we see wonderful things happening. And so thanks for hanging with us. Today, I would like to take a look at Psalm 18, another Psalm of David. This psalm from book 1 takes a look, and it's very specific in the superscription. He takes a look at thanking God after his battle with King Saul, after he won against King Saul. And David, in these 50 verses, lays out this beautiful passage of thanksgiving. And so I want us to take a look at kind of the central verse and then the verses around it a little bit. So Psalm 18, 50 verses in this psalm. And what we see is in verse 31, if you want to turn to it, we see one of my favorite devices. I've talked about it before. It's a chiasm. And why it's called a chiasm is the verse itself, the wording and how it's structured makes the chi symbol, C-H-I, which is Greek for X, right? So we see this in this passage when David says this. He says, "For who is God, Elohim," up here, "but the Lord, Yahweh," the formal name of God, the tetragrammaton, "who is a rock, tzur, but God, Elohim." So you have Elohim, Yahweh, tzur. This particular angle, I think, is really important because what he is doing is he's taking the formal name of God and he's comparing him to the rock. And he's done this before. There are so many interesting Bible passages about rock, and especially using that Hebrew word, the transliteration tzur. He talks about this. The writers talk about it in the Bible in the Old Testament. In Exodus 17:6, it was the rock, tzur, that the water flowed out of. It was the cleft of the rock that we see in Exodus 33:22. It was the crag that Moses was able to view God safely from in Numbers 23:9. Also, it was the perfect rock that's talked about in Deuteronomy 32, and it's the same one where you have honey flowing from it, same chapter. It's compared to God also in Deuteronomy 32:37. Fire sprang out of it in Judges 6:21, and it says there's no rock like God in Isaiah 2:2, my God, my rock in 2 Samuel 22, and then the book of Job. Oh my goodness, you see rock constantly referred to as God. So we have, once again, this chiasm that compares God to a rock. And so we have, again, Elohim here, we have Yahweh here. Who is God but the Lord, and who is my rock, tzur, rock, then my God Elohim. So we have this wonderful chiastic passage. Isn't that cool? Well, the neat thing is this passage actually tends to cut in half this big psalm, because before verse 31, what we see is David remembering how he was hurting, remembering how he was oppressed, remembering all of this stuff. And then he makes this praise, this form of worship. Who is God but the Lord, and who is my rock but my God? And he says this, and then for the rest of that passage, he gives God praise and talks about what happened, and now that he is the victor. A really neat psalm of remembrance and a neat victory psalm, all wrapped up into one. So that's kind of Psalm 18 as we package it together. Something I'm going to add to this podcast is, did you know? Now, I thought about this particular psalm. This is a long psalm, 50 verses, compare it to, 6 verses and 8 verses that we've been looking at. And it made me think, did you know who came up with verses and chapters? Well, this was actually a collaborative effort, because we know that these, for a long time, for many, many, many centuries, they were letters in the New Testament. They were stories in the Old Testament. And they weren't divided. But then we got them divided into chapters by a very famous person, Stephen Langdon. Now, he's maybe not so famous to you, but Langdon is famous for brokering the Magna Carta. And he was the kind of the smooth person between the king and between the peasants, and he kind of smoothed things out and brokered that agreement. But he also gave us the chapters of the Bible. Then after Stephen Langdon, we still didn't have verses. That would be started by first Santi Paganini, an Italian Dominican monk, and then finished up by a French biblical scholar named Robert Estienne. And we see for the first time in the Genevan Bible of 1560 verses and chapters the way we know it. Now, they took care of the New Testament verses. A Jewish rabbi by the name of Nathan actually did the Old Testament verses about 100 years before Santini Paganini and Robert Estienne. So we have a collaborative effort of many people, many folks doing the work. Hey, speaking of many folks doing the work, want to remind you of orchestra rehearsal on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. and then choir rehearsal 7 p.m. on Wednesday nights. I can't wait to see you. God bless you.